Hey, what's good everybody, and welcome back to the series finale here of the St. Thomas Dynasty here in NCAA 14. This is John J. Gaming on the mic, and man, it is always hard to say goodbye, particularly for this series, man. I had so much fun with this series. Episode 112, the longest running series ever on this channel, the most successful, matter of fact. But with games like Maximum Football 2020, NBA 2K, Madden, all those games coming out, at the end of the day, it's time to evolve. But we still want to give a proper send-off to this series. So what we got planned for you guys is, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and do a 5-year sim starting from year 10, so that way all the current custom recruits can cycle through, see what they can all do and see if we can get a national championship. And if we do make it to the national championship, I will probably have a part 2 to this series finale. But until then, let's see what we got going for season 10. So here's the conference outlook for us, at least going into season 10. We have a pretty good team for the most part, one of our better squads. First time that we're a 90 overall, actually. The offense is still lagging behind a little bit at an 86, but defensively, that 93 overall is going to be pretty nice to have, containing many of these defenses in the Big Ten. But we still got a little bit of work to do. Hopefully we can still make it to a bowl game, since we're actually simming, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. On top of that, here is the preseason polls going into this season. We're actually getting pretty disrespected, man. Number 53 in the nation going into season 10. What a tragedy that we have going here. Although we should be favored against Oklahoma State, surprisingly. They're not as good as I thought they were. But we'll have to wait and see. See what happens, man. And then finally, this is the schedule going in for this season, the first season of this sim, 5-year sim that we got going on here. Oklahoma State, North Texas, because we did have guys for both, I believe, North Texas and Oregon State transfer. So gotta drop both these teams off. Start off a road game against some Big 12 opponents. That's nice. Then we'll get into the Big 10 schedule. Towards the end it does get a little brutal. Ranked Iowa, a solid Illinois team, and a top 5 ranked Minnesota squad. So let's see what we can do. I'll catch you guys at the halfway point of the season to see where exactly we are at. All right, fellas, we made it to the halfway point of season 10. This is how we're doing. We're 5-1 as of right now. So let's go ahead, check out the stats, and see how we're doing in recruiting as well. So this is how we did in the first half of the season, and actually we did, actually slightly better than what I anticipated. We, won every single game. The only exception being that road game against Penn State, which we did lose on the road, and we were winning going into the fourth quarter, but we just kind of let that lead slip away with 10 unanswered points from Penn State. But other than that, we've won every single game that's on our table right now. We do have some things coming up. So Iowa's no longer ranked, but Nebraska's now in the top 10. They're number 8 in the country. Illinois is number 22, and Minnesota is number 2 in the country right now. They have pretty darn good football team over there in Minnesota. It's going to make for a great rivalry, and this is despite the fact that we had a lot of injuries as well. Thankfully, Michael Granson Jr. is going to come back eventually and help a brother out. But despite the fact that we have a 5-1 record in the Big Ten, by the way, there's a notable team missing in this top 25, and you already know what it is. It's St. Thomas, man. We are not ranked in the top 25 right now. Granted, we are receiving votes. We are number 27 in the country, also sitting behind Michigan State. But Illinois, yet they're 5-1, and they're able to jump into the top 25. So it is what it is. A little bit biased against St. Thomas, but that's just what we've been dealing with. So this is our season stats so far, and what we ended up happening is that Michael Granson Jr., first year as a starter, got hurt, and he was doing pretty well. 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Not the greatest completion percentage, but sure, we does make it up on the ground at times. 19 carries for 63 yards. But Owen Benfield is the guy that has really shown out. Over almost 1,300 yards passing, 13 touchdowns, not a single interception thrown. Longest pass of 58 yards. Running game still needs some work though. Damon Shelby has been the lead ball carrier, and you know, he's doing okay. You know, nobody really showing out here. Receivers though, Pablo Sanchez, oh my word, really putting in that work. He already has 13 touchdown catches, and we're only halfway through the season. You know, no dig at Tyreek Miller or DH3, who each have 4 touchdown grabs themselves. Blocking, Adam Jackson has really taken a step up. You know, senior on this squad has 18 pancakes for this football team. That has to be a school record, at least for this series. And then defensively, it looks like James Walker leads the team in tackles this year with 42 tackles, while Buster Porter is not too far behind him with 41. He also leads the team in sacks as well with 4.5. James Walker not too far behind him. Anton Black only has a couple of sacks so far, which is really surprising. That could definitely hurt his NFL stock if he doesn't pick it up anytime soon. Jesus Allworth is on pace though to have the same interceptions that he did last season. He had 3 interceptions so far. Kyle Barron, you know, at 2 picks. That's already, you know, ties the amount that he had in his first 2 seasons on the football field. So that's really cool to see. And then we do have 2 forced fumbles that Jesus Allworth and Anton Black have forced. And then James Walker and Jim Smith recover those fumbles. So that being said, man, we are doing pretty darn well. So, I mean, only thing left to do was sit in the second half of this season. Let's see if we can make it to the conference championship game, or will Minnesota be a cock block for us like they were back in season 9. So after we won our game against Purdue, 45-34 by the way, but you know, really wasn't necessarily in question. But you know, we won the game, and you know, we're finally ranked. We're number 20 in the nation, which, you know, it actually took long enough. So, you know, just kind of curious to see what the conference standings are looking like. And, you know, it's shaken up between us, Minnesota, and Nebraska. You know, we still got to play Iowa. We still got to play Illinois. But they already have 2 losses, so they might be out of the picture, except for a miracle. But, you know, we got this game against Northwestern, and then, you know, Nebraska's going to be a massive game, and then same thing with Minnesota. That's going to be a huge game for us as well. We're really going to find out how tough our football team is, you know, so that's going to be really interesting to see. Another thing that I forgot to talk about is that we're putting together one hell of a recruiting class. We're number 2 in terms of recruiting classes in the country. You know, we got 9 4-star guys and 4 3-star guys, you know, come to the squad. No 5 stars yet, you know, which is the only thing that's really differentiating between us and Texas. But, you know, being a Division III team a decade ago that's in Minnesota, it is kind of hard to recruit really good players from Minnesota sometimes. You know, we're putting together one heck of a recruiting class. You know, I can't wait to see what we can do, you know, from here on out on the recruiting front. So here we are in the regular season finale for season 10 already. And you know what we got going, you know, we got some things in play, man. We're 9-2 on the season so far, and it's been a pretty brutal schedule towards the end too. We beat a ranked Nebraska team, we beat a ranked Iowa team, we did lose to Illinois on the road, 2 touchdowns, which does put a damper on things a little bit because we were in play. We were in close to the top 5 at one point, but you know, simply wasn't in the cards for us for this season. Hopefully the offense will catch up, you know, for season 11. But this is what the conference standings are looking like, man. It's us and it's Nebraska. So this is all we need to do, man. What we need to do, you know, we got to win our game against Minnesota. If we don't do that, we have to hope that Iowa beats Nebraska, so that forces a tie there. And that should be enough for us to go to the conference championship game. Over on that east side, looks like we'll be playing against Penn State. Although it looks like Michigan State might still be in play, depending on what they do against Penn State. So with all of that being said, though, it's time to find out if we can beat the Minnesota Golden Gophers and go to the Big Ten championship game, in which we do, beating them 49-39. We're going to the Big Ten championship game. Let's go. Thanks to that win against Minnesota, we are in the Big Ten championship game. And look who we got. We got Michigan State from the east side. It looks like they must have taken care of business against the Penn State Nittany Lions. They won their game 31-23. Now they'll go up against us in order to play in the Big Ten championship game. But before I officially go and do that, let's go check out these Top 25 polls real quick. Here we are at number 7, but it looks like our championship hopes are going to be down to, very minimal, because, it's basically down to 3 teams. Texas for sure is in because they're undefeated and they don't have a conference championship game in the Big 12. And then Georgia is playing Arkansas, who's number 3. So whoever wins the SEC championship game is also going to play in the national championship game. So we might be able to climb up to number 3 at the most, but honestly I kind of doubt at this point. We can at least win the Big 10 championship and then see what happens from there though. So let's go ahead and do just that. Sim the conference championship game, and we barely lose it, losing to the Spartans by a final score of 28-31. Now we're just gonna have to sit and wait to find out where we're gonna go for a bowl game. So we still get a pretty darn good bowl game. We do go to the Pt.1 Bowl versus Ole Miss. We played our rival Mississippi State in the Outback Bowl, so let's see if we can go 2-0 versus SEC teams from Mississippi. Pablo Sanchez also wins the Blintacock Reward, being the best wide receiver in college football, which of course we're going to go ahead and add that, although it seems like that's the only major award that we won on an individual point. But on the plus side, let's see if we can win the Pt.1 Bowl versus Ole Miss. So we sim the Pt.1 Bowl and it ends on a very sour note. We lose 28-59. We couldn't spell defense despite having a very elite defensive football team. So that's going to stink, but at least we do finish with double-digit wins. That's a slight step in the right direction compared to last season. We do have some record holders for season 10. Antoine Black does beat the school career sack record here at St. Thomas with 37 total sacks over the course of 4 seasons. And then Pablo Sanchez also breaks the career for most receiving touchdowns in a season, just shatters that thing with ease. Same thing with in a season. Last year he had 13 touchdowns. This season he had 23 touchdown grabs. What an insane season this dude had. Speaking of insane seasons, look at him go. Pablo Sanchez, most career yards for at least on the receptions end. Almost 3,500 receiving yards over a career. That is insane. And then once again in a season, 1,600 receiving yards. Just putting in that work. Also, speaking of putting in that work, there's Sanchez with another receiving record. 291 receptions over the course of his collegiate career, shattering a record that was set back in 2006. He only had 211 though. Finally, there's receptions in a season for Pablo Sanchez. 132 catches this year, breaking his own record by a long shot. So these are the final stats for, our St. Thomas football team. It looks like Owen Benfield got a lot of work this year just because Michael Granson Jr. was injured quite a bit. And in relief, Owen Benfield was balling out actually. 3,200 yards, 35 touchdowns, only 1 interception. He might have to be the starter for next season, depending on how the offseason goes. Granson's really struggled. 13 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. You hate to see it. For rushing yards, we didn't have anybody over 1,000 yards, but we had a couple people that were close. Damon Shelby was the starting tailback. He had almost 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. ABJ had 716 yards and 7 touchdowns himself, though, which is cool to see. Receivers, we talked about how Pablo Sanchez was an absolute monster. But Tyreek Miller was no slouch himself either. 90 catches, over 1,100 yards, 12 touchdowns. DH Free even played pretty well as a nice role player as well. He had 666 yards and 7 scores. DeMarcus Hurd II, had 530 yards and 3 touchdowns as well. Blocking, we had multiple guys with double-digit pancakes. Adam Jackson led the team with 35 pancakes, followed by Travis Kendrick with 23. Quentin Holmes with 16. Chance Adiome Anobi, 14 pancakes on 5 sacks. Defensively, it was the Buster Porter show. 87 total tackles this season, leading the team by quite a bit actually. Though James Walker in his first season on the field really showed out as well with 78 total tackles. Ernie Steele had 74 and Matt Wade had 73 themselves. Zach's wives, the duo of Buster Porter and Antoine Black, showed out once again. Black didn't have as many sacks as he did, and neither did Buster Porter, but still both with very excellent football seasons, so no shame on that. Justice Seaworth does take a little bit of a step back, only getting 4 interceptions this season. But like a little bit of a mix, we got Kyle Barron with 2 interceptions, Kevin Davis with 2 interceptions in his first season on the field. Then Daniel Nash and Brad Deal both got an interception to their name as well. As for forced fumbles, Antoine Black was the only person to have multiple forced fumbles. There was a bunch of different guys though that did, get the ball loose over the course of the season though, so that's a really interesting sign. Buster Porter and Jim Smith both have multiple fumble recoveries to their name. And then let's just see here. There's no touchdowns, but it looks like Daniel Nash did get in there and either block a field goal or a punt. So that's a good stuff to see. So with the season being over, the only thing that we have to do is go to the off season. Let's check out the recruiting class and see how we did in recruiting. Before we even get to that, let's check out some of the notable players that are leaving the squad. Antoine Black's going to graduate. He's going to be a first round pick. Buster Porter, 94 overall, does not go to the NFL, but Jesus Allworth will as a second round pick. Owen Benfield did try to declare for the draft, but we convinced him to stay. He only would have been a 6th round pick. He'll be much better off next season anyways. And then Pablo Sanchez, the Blinikoff winner, is a 5th round pick most likely. It'd be interesting to see if he moves up at all. Another person leaving the team though is Jim Smith, a 90 overall dude, not going to the NFL. I thought he had the potential to do so, but apparently NCAA 14 disagrees with me. So we get ourselves over to signing day, and the future is absolutely bright. We have the #1 recruiting class in the entire country, 2 5 stars, 12 4 stars as well. It's even better than Texas, who did eventually win the national championship. Georgia, blue bloods that have a great tradition, not a D3 school. We out-recruited all of them. And so I can't wait to see what this recruiting class can do and contribute to us on the football field. So here we are, season 11, and this time we're actually getting a little bit of love. Despite the fact that we ended the year on a 2-game losing streak, we're already sitting at number 18 in the nation. And you can see why that's the case as well. We got, our boys for the first time. We have a 91 overall squad, 93 offense, 92 defense. We're out here chilling with our best squad yet. People all over ready to make plays on the ball. It'll be interesting to see if we can make a run for the national championship. Only a handful of squads out there have like A's across the board like we do. So, who knows? If we play our cards right, we might be able to make a play for a national championship game. But before we even think about the national championship, we got to get through our vaunted conference. Even though the west side is not typically as good as the east, we still got some really good teams in there. Nebraska has a 99 overall offense. Illinois can play spoiler at any moment. Minnesota is always a good team that'll be tough against. Purdue has a good offense as well. And Iowa and Northwestern are both capable of shaking things up. So it's going to be an interesting Western Division, man. No one really distinguishing themselves. Going to be interesting to see if we can pull it out, but hey, for now, let's go ahead, sim the first half of the season, see how everything shakes out. Let's go. So, we're here at the halfway point of the season once again, and we are 5-1, still ranked in the top 10. We're number 10 in the country, but it's actually really surprising who we lost to. You ready to see who we lost to? So, of all of the teams that we lost to, we actually lost to Hawaii, by 10 points, which at the time it looks extremely embarrassing, but surprisingly, they're not too shabby. They're 6-0, number 4 in the country. Wisconsin was ranked at the time we played them. We beat them. We won the rest of our games, and for the most part, won them handily too. It is pretty weird that we lost to Hawaii, though. That does kind of suck, but beyond that, we're still having a really good season. We still have our gauntlet to go through. We got Nebraska, we got Iowa, we got Illinois. All of these guys are still ranked, and Minnesota, they're 3-3, but we can't take them for granted either. They can always give us some trouble too. So it's going to be interesting, man, to see how the second half of the season goes for sure. So this is where we're looking at right now, and Michael Granson Jr. has taken over the starting spot for good. I mean, look at how this kid's doing. 1,270 yards, already surpasses, total passing yards, same touchdown passes. Hopefully he can cut down on interceptions too. Then the run game's starting to show a little bit, not necessarily how we want it to be, but he does have a touchdown there. Running game though, in general though, seems a little underwhelming. ABJ does have 380 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground, but Kevin Alex Jones only has a score. Granson Jr. only has a score. Kyron Granson, his brother, also only has a touchdown as well. Receiving yards though, Xavier Peterson in his freshman campaign, really looking like a freshman phenom. Leading the team in catches, has 450 yards and already has 5 touchdowns in the season as well. You want to talk about a kid that is absolutely special, is certainly this guy right here. But Hunter Robinson's not too far behind him. He has 5 touchdowns as well. Jeb Brister has 3 TDs. Giovanni Coxum has 2 touchdowns. Henderson with multiple touchdowns. And same thing with Bo Bishop, the meme at fullback, with multiple touchdown grabs. Over on blocking, Chris Breen putting in that work too, already with 15 pancakes. I'm sure by the end of the season, this man is definitely going to have a pancake house for sure. And then on defense, we have James Walker leading the team in tackles. He has 42 total tackles so far, with Ernie Steele at 29 total as the next closest. Not too many sacks from this team though. Kevin Davis does lead the team in sacks, but he only has 2 sacks. Everyone else has only 1 sack or less, so not doing a great job with pass rush. But we are getting a lot of turnovers though. Daniel Nash, Ernie Steele, and Kyle Barron, they all have multiple interceptions so far. Trey Griffin, Jonathan Thousand, and Brett Deal, they're all able to get their hands on the ball too. Over on forced fumbles, we had 4 forced fumbles so far. Kristen Toth, Mike Smith, Ernie Steele, and Brad Deal. We did recover 2 of those. And just looking around to see if we got any safeties or any touchdowns. No defensive touchdowns so far, but hopefully that'll change in the second half of the season. So that being said, I will go ahead and sim away. I'll stop either at the end of the season or when we get towards the gauntlet if something crazy comes up. We'll see how the second half goes though. So boys, we did win our next 2 games by a convincing margin, but that's not the big story, man. Check what we got going here. We have Nebraska in front of us this week. Number 4 team in the nation. We go on the road against them. And then on top of that, we also play Iowa. They are ranked number 1 in the country. They are undefeated. So these next 2 weeks are going to be big, man. Not only for the Big Ten West, but also just because of the fact that we, could put us in play for the national championship if we can win the next 2 games. As here is the top 25 polls as of right now. There's Iowa at top. Nebraska is right there. They're number 4 in the country as well. Penn State's number 7, but they're over in the Big Ten East. We might not see them. Their only loss actually was to Nebraska. That's their first L of the season. So, yeah, man, depending on how these next couple of games go, we can really put ourselves in a position, to get into the national championship game potentially still. So let's do it, man. We'll find out if we can beat Nebraska, beat the first big hurdle to that ultimate goal. Can we get it done? Yes, we do. We beat Nebraska 42-33. That's what we like to see. That's going to put us in a showdown with Iowa, most likely for the Big Ten West. Let's go. Against Nebraska, we go on the road once again. We play against the number 1 team in the country. We play the Iowa Hawkeyes, man. We look a little bit better on paper, but Kurt Herdstreak is going to rock with them. However, one thing is that this is not only for the Big Ten West. This is a national championship picture right here. As we're taking a look at these top 25 polls real quick, there's Iowa at the top, and then there's us at number 6. If we beat Iowa, we can definitely leapfrog Texas and Arkansas with the resume that we're able to put together versus what Texas has been able to conjure up, which, to be honest, isn't even that good, for being real. So if we do win, we do need to hope that Oklahoma or Hawaii loses, but we'll see what happens, man. Just gotta focus on Iowa for right now. So all that being said, gonna sim this game against Iowa, and we take care of them. Let's go! 39-36. That's what I'm talking about, baby! So with our win against Iowa, at least from the Big Ten perspective, we do control our own destiny. Nationally, we do need two things to happen. At that national level, we're sitting at 9-1 with the number 3 ranking in the entirety of college football, and there's only 2 teams ahead of us, Oklahoma and Hawaii. We need one of these 2 teams to lose at least one game for us to move into the top 2. As for us, we have to win out. We can't afford a second loss. If we lose any of our games, our national championship hopes are going to be gone. Thankfully for us though, we do control our destiny. In the conference standings, 2 of the closest teams is Iowa and Nebraska. Iowa, we have at least half a game on right now. We have their first loss, whereas we're still undefeated. So all we need to do, we play Illinois, and then we also play Minnesota, who have both struggled this season. If we win at least one of 2 games for the final 2 games of our regular season, we will move on at least to the Big Ten West Championship, facing whoever comes from the east side, which most likely will be the Michigan Wolverines. So with that being said, unless something crazy happens, gonna move to these last couple of weeks. I'll see you guys hopefully at the bare minimum, the Big Ten Championship game. Let's see what happens. Alright, man, so we are here at the conference championship game getting ready to play against the Michigan Wolverines, which was a team that I did expect to play. They're ranked number 12. We're ranked number 2 in the country. And right now, man, this is our only step. If we win this game in the sim, we're going to the national championship game. And I will play that in the next episode. And that will actually be the series finale. As for who we would play if we did win, looks like we'll play Oklahoma. They don't have a conference championship game, so they're going to be locked in. It's just a matter of if they're going to play us or if they're going to play either like an Arkansas, a Texas, or even a Florida is not necessarily out of the picture as well. You know, we'd certainly have to wait and see, but right now we control our own destiny. Let's see what happens, man. So with that being said, let's get the sim on the way and see if we'll go to the BCS National Championship game. And we do! We beat the Michigan Wolverines 56-28. Let's get it going. BCS National Championship game between us and Oklahoma. A rare opportunity here. Going from a Division III powerhouse to winning the biggest championship in college football. Can we get it done? So series finale, next episode. Going to be against Oklahoma. Do we deliver our first championship? We will find out. But until then, thank you guys so much for tuning into this video for this sim. If you enjoy the content here, make sure you smash that like button. Hit subscribe if you're new. I'll see you guys next time. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care, everybody.